Localism is split into two halves. The first half is expanding the authority of local governments, and the second half is making local governments be directly democratic. One teeny tiny problem about that second half. Direct democracy may kind of be unconstitutional in America. There's this section of the Constitution called the Guarantee Clause that says, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. So does that mean that states and local governments inside of states can't become directly democratic because it would violate the Guarantee Clause? One way to answer that question is to look to see what the people who wrote the Constitution had to say about the Guarantee Clause. In Federalist Number 43, James Madison talks directly about the Guarantee Clause and says that the superintending government should clearly possess the authority to defend the system against aristocratic or monarchical innovations. Aristocratic or monarchical. No mention of democratic innovations. On the other hand, the Founding Fathers were no fans of democracy, and in Federalist Number 10, James Madison writes about how democracy can admit of no cure for the mischiefs of faction, and talks about a republican government as being able to refine and enlarge the public views by passing them through the medium of a chosen body of citizens whose wisdom may best discern the true interests of their country. Basically, he's saying, well, it sure is a good thing that America's a republic where we elect smart people to the government, because otherwise, in a democracy, the dumb, stinky pores might be able to make decisions for themselves. Can't have that. Since the Guarantee Clause says what it says, and the Founding Fathers were clearly no fans of direct democracy, you might expect that the Guarantee Clause has been used in this nation's history to say, hey, state or local government, your form of government is not sufficiently Republican, so you need to change it. But that hasn't been the case in the nation's history. Kind of the opposite, in fact. Take the 1849 case Luther v. Borden, where the Supreme Court was asked, hey, Rhode Island's charter says that you have to own a certain amount of property in order to be able to vote. Does that mean that Rhode Island's government isn't Republican for the purposes of the Guarantee Clause? The Supreme Court said, well, whether or not a form of government is Republican is a political question, so we're not going to address it. However, the Guarantee Clause does give Congress powers. And since Congress admitted Rhode Island, state constitution requiring property to vote and all, that means Congress thought, okay, Rhode Island's a republic for the purposes of the Guarantee Clause, so it's all good to go. The court did something kind of similar in the 1912 case Pacific States Telephone and Telegraph Co. v. Oregon. Oregon had passed this law that said, hey, the people can pass laws or override laws of the state legislature via referendum. And Pacific States Telephone was saying, wait, this makes Oregon not a republic anymore. The Guarantee Clause applies here. The Supreme Court said, we can't say whether or not Oregon is a republic or not, because that's a political question. So the referendum ability was left in place. So in the end, the courts can't tell us whether or not a form of government is sufficiently Republican for the purposes of the Guarantee Clause, and the powers that the Guarantee Clause provides to Congress are murky and not super defined. So we don't really know whether direct democracy is constitutional in America.